Okay, well, good evening. Welcome, friends. Welcome to our book club discussion of Bringers of the Dawn by Barbara Marciniak. Today's the 5th of February, 2025, and we'll be discussing Chapter 9 this evening. But first, and as we always do, I'd like to have a short group meditation with everyone. This is a great experience for all because we can exchange energies in group meditation. Even though we are seemingly at a great distance from each other, we are communicating through the video teleconference platform Zoom, and I know some people are probably watching on YouTube. So we all are contributing our shared energies, even though we're at a distance. And I know that I'm aware of it when I'm meditating. And so I think it might be good for you to also focus in on that type of energy if you can feel it. So if everyone would just take a comfortable meditation posture. It's recommended to cross your feet or sit in the usual asana that you prefer. And also interlace the fingers, have them gently resting in your lap in order to minimize body movement. And then we will close the eyes and take a deep breath in, hold, and then a deep breath out. And one more deep breath in, hold, and then a deep breath out. And now I would like you to breathe normally. Let the breath come as it will, and let the breath go as it will. And as the breath comes in, be aware of how it feels. And as the breath goes out, be aware of how that feels. Focus on the breath. If you have thoughts, just turn your attention from the thoughts and focus it on the breath. You may have feelings coming through any of the chakras, especially the heart chakra. Notice feelings when we're meditating. Be aware of any feelings. We'll take another 30 seconds, friends. Okay, masters, when you're ready, take your palms and rub them together. Then place them on your eyes. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open your eyes and look into your palms. Okay. So this evening we are going to discuss Chapter 9 in Bringers of the Dawn, and it's called Profound New Boundaries. And like Chapter 8, it's short, but there's a lot of really great information here. So I'll do the usual where I just read some things and then discuss as my intuition leads me. So let me read. The Pleiadians say, since you are a frequency-controlled society, the ability of humanity to create technologies has been limited. Many gifts and influences from outside this planet have been hushed up. This is something that was discussed earlier in the book, that as long as we're limited and not operating from love, that whatever technologies we create will be limited. I think it's kind of an interesting message for us. How to take it exactly, I'm not sure, except operate more from love, I think. Let me move on. The Pleiadians say, just as there's a movie industry on this planet, there are those in space who have holographic industry. They make holographic inserts, dramas that look just like they are real, and then insert them through portals into your reality. Since these space beings have been around for hundreds of thousands of years, and humanity's frequencies have been controlled, it is quite easy to hoodwink human beings. The Pleiadians continue to say, holographic inserts have been used on Earth to manipulate and control consciousness and to change the story of information to one of disinformation, one of a limited amount of knowledge. And as we see it, those who use holographic inserts are not always after bringing light or information or upliftment to people. They have ulterior motives, although they may pass them off as light. Holographic inserts look exactly like 3D reality. They are creations of events manufactured and inserted in your reality to look as if they are part of a sequential action. They are used to influence the minds of observers, and they are very difficult to recognize. You will have plenty of practice in the next number of years when, in the Middle East and other areas around the planet, a lot of extraterrestrial activities come into full force and begin to be published. Some of the grand events will be very legitimate, and some of them will be inserts designed to move the consciousness of humanity toward the one world order to be controlled. Hmm. Interesting, the idea of these holographic inserts, I think, and how they look exactly like three-dimensional reality. Um, I think I mentioned before that I was reading a book called Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East. It's written by a man named Spalding, and he traveled to India in the 1890s, and he met some people who were called masters. And one of the things that they could do was to create these three-dimensional holographic inserts. And from the story, they were not using it for nefarious purposes, but they were using it to protect themselves from criminal activity, for example. Um, and if you want to know more about that, I think reading those books is fun and it's interesting. And it's my first exposure to the idea of a holographic insert. Um, but it is interesting to think that this is a possibility. Okay, let's read more about what the Pleiadians say. They mentioned something about these beings having an idea towards about, moving the consciousness of humanity toward the one world order to be controlled. I think that phrase sounds interesting and it would be worth exploring. The one world order. It always just seems to be what empires do, right? Empires want to control more and more land. They'd control the entire world if they could, but then they get overextended and they fall apart, as is always seems to have happened over the centuries. The Mongolian Empire, the Roman Empire, lots of other empires have come and gone. I think we're witnessing some empires in the current period of time. We're seeing definitely some empire activities, even if people don't say they're empires. So I'm not sure we'll ever have a one world order, but it's an interesting idea. I'm not sure if it's good or bad. I like the idea of multiple cultures, multiple ways of doing things. So I think plurality, just my opinion, I think it's wise. Um, so I'm not convinced yet that a one world order is the way to go. Multiple languages, I think, give us strength. It allows us to express things in different ways. Our ideas, our opinions, if you know two or more languages, you're gifted because you understand that there's a different way of saying what you want to say in different languages. And it can be very beautiful to have the experience. So for me, a one world order, if that includes being monolingual throughout the world, I don't like the idea. These are just my impressions. So I'm going to move on. The Pleiadians say ho holographic inserts have energy fields and can be doused. Dowsing rods move differently in them because their energy fields are diverse and vibrate at an incredible rate. You can walk into them and participate in them, meaning the holographic inserts. People may be a part of them and swear they are real, but they are orchestrated events designed to influence the minds of humans. Holographic inserts are not done for information. They are done for control. They are simply an aspect of technology that exists. And so again, just I don't think the Pleiadians are going to give us an example of these holographic inserts. And if you're really trying to find an example to think, how does this work? What does this mean? It's covering up reality. It's covering up, and what do we mean by reality? Okay, I'll leave that question out there, but it's covering up what's happening around us with a different version of the story. Okay. Um, what's the name of that book? Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. The masters were about to be attacked by a group of criminal bandits. And instead of suffering at the hands of these criminals who would have probably killed them all, they conjured up a blizzard. And this blizzard came in. It looked and felt exactly like a blizzard to anybody who was in it. And all of the bandits got caught in the blizzard and they couldn't move, they couldn't see. The snow just basically swept them away. But the masters were all fine and they were in like a bubble. And the bubble was warm and everything was fine in this bubble. But the criminals couldn't they couldn't go on because it was all so real to them. This holographic 3D image that was projected. It looked real, it felt real, but it was just a holographic projection coming from these masters. So that's an idea of what a holographic projection is. Maybe that made that a little clearer, I hope. Okay, let me get back to what the Pleiadians are saying. So, I mean, and also you can see, if this technology does exist and if there's some beings that have control over it, of course they can use it for nefarious purposes. Of course. It could be used for good or bad, right? Like any technology. You can use it for good or bad as you decide. Okay, let me go back to reading. The Pleiadians say human beings must learn to read energies. They must learn to use more than the senses of their eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and so on to perceive reality. We have said that the eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and sense of touch are deceivers of reality. They lock reality in. You think you are perceiving reality with these senses when in actuality they limit your perception of reality. So I want to know, have you done this yet? Have you learned to read energies yet? When I walk into a room, if I'm very aware and very connected to my intuition, I can read energies. I can feel the energy of the room. I sometimes can feel the intent of a person. And even though words aren't said, it's pretty obvious to me what's happening. Can you do this? This is what the Pleiadians are asking us to do. If you haven't had much experience with it yet, it should come through as you continue your meditation. Every day you do a daily practice of a meditation. It opens your energy system and it allows perceiving through feeling, not through the five physical senses, which are very limited, but through feeling states, which connect us with everything that there is. I believe that's what the Pleiadians are saying here. Okay, let me read the book. The Pleiadians say, you have been trained since you were a child to rely on your eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and sense of touch to interpret experience. Now you are going to need to rely on other forms of sensing to determine experience. One of the forms you have discounted is feeling. Feeling. Your knowing, intuitive, psychic self has been jammed by frequency control on this planet so that none of you have been able to find it. If you found your own knowledge and your own way of intuiting, you could not be controlled. So it's very important to be able to do this. And of course, meditation will unjam this and it will allow you to find it. Back to the Pleiadians. They say, how do you know what is controlled and what is not controlled? Part of your experience here is to learn that, to get into a little hot water and to know when to jump out. In the deepest core of your being, there is an integrity you can discover and begin to operate with. It is an integrity that honors life and honors yourself first and foremost as the life that you are in charge of. You are in charge of you, and it has been gifted and granted to you that you honor your light, your body, and your experience to the best of your ability. And my feeling about this is that this is one of the deep meanings of our lives. You know, we are like stewards. You know, we are caretakers of life, this life force energy that we have. We're using it. But we're also in charge of it. We're also taking care of it. We're responsible for it. And it's a gift to us that we honor our light, our body, and the experience that we have. Because what are we beyond the experience? There's an experience, there's experienced, and there's the experiencer. And it's all together. It's not separate, right? The experiencer cannot be separated from the experience or what is experienced. It's all one. And that's part of what we want to remember. When the Pleiadians say you are in charge of you, keep that in mind. What am I? Let me move on. The Pleiadians say as you begin to take good care of your integrity and to cultivate it and discover the miracle and potentials of it, you will discover that your body, which seemingly has been somewhat of a burden that you have been carting around, is really invaluable. It brings you untold wealth, the body. They're saying the body brings you untold wealth. With the physical body, you are millionaires. You must learn to use your feeling center and to activate and act on the information inside of you. You must learn to trust it. So my question is, are you doing this? So why is the body so invaluable? If we realize what it's for, we're suddenly rich, we're millionaires, they say. And one of the gifts that the body gives us is the ability to feel. We have all these rich feelings that flow through us. And whether they're sublime or just like in your face, outrageous, there's such a range of feeling that flows through us usually. And, you know, it might be very sublime and we may even lose track of the awareness of it. And at other times, it might come through with a lot of force. And are you aware of it when it happens? There's meaning behind that feeling. And it's good to have some awareness on it, at least some awareness, even if you're engaged in doing in the world. While you're doing the thing that you're doing, keep a part of your attention on that feeling. The feeling is there for a reason. And I think that's what they mean by us being millionaires. We can harvest these feelings for our own benefit, for our own use in advancing in this life. Okay. The Pleiadians say, you as members of the family of light are intending to merge dimensions. Your task is to pull other dimensions into this reality, to have your nervous system handle the different molecular fluctuations and to be able to make it okay. You are learning to perceive through your feeling centers and to teach others how to do all that you can do. You are the way showers. You will recognize holographic inserts by feeling. They won't feel right. Something will feel fishy or strange. When holographic inserts are put into your reality, something is not right. As members of the family of light, your coatings and filaments will not feel good if you are exposed to holographic inserts because they are used to control you rather than bring you to upliftment. They are used to ride your emotions to a certain point so that others can feed off them and bring you to a new level of operation. So I I can give an example. It's of what I think is a holographic insert that a lot of people who are old enough can probably relate to. Um, and it may not be exactly a holographic insert as the Pleiadians are talking about or as the masters that I've talked about. Um, but I remember back into the early 2000s. I was, I'm from the USA. I've lived in the USA all my life, so there's always, politics. And I'm just going to give an example, okay? I don't want to polarize the community in any way, but I just remember the President of the United States at the time saying a country in the Middle East, Iraq, is developing weapons of mass destruction, and we need to go in there with military force and stop it. And there was a vial held up at the UN, and it was filled with a white powder, and they said, "Oh, it's biological warfare agents, and a little vial like this can kill many thousands of people. This is really, really important. We have to have a war." I remember just thinking it's my feeling that came to me when I saw this on the news was very upsetting because the story didn't sound right to me. I couldn't believe that this was going on in Iraq. I just couldn't believe it. It just didn't feel right, honestly. And I told my wife at the time, I said, this doesn't seem right. I don't believe this story. It doesn't feel right. And it was all just, oh, you don't know anything. You're just a little guy over here. These people know all this stuff. Just let them do their thing. Don't make a fuss about it. And I talked to my family and I talked to a lot of people and I said, I don't believe it. I don't believe any of this. I think it's made up. I think it's an excuse. Well, nobody agreed with me. Everybody said, "Oh, let the government do what they want to do. Of course, you don't know anything. They have all this intelligence, and they got to be right because hey, they're the government." Well, lo and behold, after the whole thing was over, no weapons mass destruction were found anywhere. So the whole justification for going to war was completely nil. And my feeling state led me to believe that at the moment they said it. And so I'm trying to give you an idea of a holographic insert. And this isn't exactly what the Pleiadians are talking about, but it's in the same line of we have a complete fabrication. We have a story we want you to believe so that you won't resist when we want to do the thing we want to do. That's equivalent to a holographic insert. Okay. But they're talking more literally about, being deceived because the three-dimensional reality that you're perceiving looks like something, but it's not real. And you can sense the unreality of it with your feeling. And so that's what I'm also trying to point out to you is always be aware when you hear a story about something. What does your feeling tell you at that time? Because if you're aware of it, you'll get hints about Does this seem legitimate or is there something I'm missing here? You know? Okay, let me continue. The Pleiadians are saying we talked about the portal in the Middle East being a dimensional doorway or entryway onto the planet for certain energies to find civilization. There are portals on the South American continent, the North American continent, Asia, China, and all over the globe. The huge portal that we are presently discussing is the portal in the Middle East, and it is gigantic. Many holographic inserts or dramas have been inserted through that portal to upset the minds and beliefs of the population. Since this portal is in the midst of crisis, it is a prime candidate for holographic inserts and also prime for a belief system to alter this chaotic world and to get everyone to move in a different direction. Be aware of your feeling centers when these kinds of events begin to occur on this planet. The Middle East is a portal where many dimensions meet and where entities from other dimensions can come onto this planet. It's a hot spot. In recent times, in the last 40 or 50,000 years, many civilizations have surfaced and many religious dramas have started in the Middle East because of the vortex. Holographic inserts are easier to produce in that area, just like movies are easier to produce in California. A potential holographic insert in this portal is the arrival of extraterrestrials from space, or Christ returning, or some God returning, or some Savior, or some reason for everything to begin to follow one way of thinking. At this time, as we see it, it is not of light. An example of a holographic insert that was put on the planet in the past to change the course of history is the crucifixion of Christ. The drama that was played out and passed on historically to you is not the reality that the Christed One came in to play. A version of this entity's life was molded and designed in a holographic entertainment movie, which was then inserted and played out as if it were real. Christ came in as a committee of beings over a period of time. The story that you have been told is a dramatized, marketed version, a very controlled version of who this entity was and is. Part of the Christ drama that you have been taught was a holographic insert. And part of what you will discover in the future about the Christed One has the potential of being another holographic insert. So be aware. Most people would say that we are sacrilegious and of the devil to say this. How can we question what the Bible says? How can we question all of these things? Because they were all said and done by patriarchal organizations that promoted themselves. That was all they were. They were utilized to bring back control of the energy on the planet. Okay, I think this calls for some discussion. So they're saying, and they're not identifying exactly, but they do point out that the crucifixion of Christ, they're saying at least part of that story was a holographic insert. But they're not saying exactly what part of it. And so it's a little difficult maybe to understand what exactly they mean, but I'll give I'll give a couple of options and you can draw your own conclusions. So The mainstream Christian version of the story is Christ was crucified and he died on the cross and he was buried. And after 3 days, he was able to reincarnate in his body, bring it back to life, and he spent an additional 40 days on Earth before he ascended. That's the mainstream Christian version. And that's the version that the Pleiadians are saying, oh, hey, these patriarchal organizations are telling you a story in order to keep maximal control over you. The church is a patriarchal organization, of course, and the church does have its own self-interest at stake. It wants to survive like any organization. And so the church knows it cannot defy the big, powerful governments of this world. And so when they teach what Jesus taught, they have to water some of it down. Because if they taught it very literally, the governments themselves would be in jeopardy of dissolution. Think about it. Christ teaches nonviolence, absolute nonviolence. If everyone followed that teaching exactly as he taught it, there'd be no war. If there were no war, how could the governments control people? How could they profit off of people's suffering and death? They couldn't. And their very existence would be challenged. They would have to change completely in order to continue being governments. And so the church knows if they teach too much the teachings of Christ, the governments will come after them. The government will go after the church. And so the church waters the teachings down for its own self-interest. And of course, it'll change critical aspects of a story to preserve a patriarchal organization over the teachings of the great master. Of course, of course. But what exactly are they saying? What part of this story might be a holographic insert? Let's just think about what we know. We know what the Quran says. It's interesting if you read the Quran, the Muslim version of this story. The Muslim version of the story says Christ was never crucified at all. Instead, what happened is there was one who was made to look like him, and that one was crucified instead. What does that mean? Here's what it means. Here's what I think it means. I think it means that the accuser, if you know the story of Christ, Judas was one of his apostles, and he accused and betrayed Christ, and he brought the Romans authorities to Jesus to capture him and take him in. Well, the Quran basically says Judas was transformed so that he looked exactly like Christ. Here's a holographic insert, right? Judas was transformed and he looked exactly like Christ, and Jesus Christ escaped and went to India and stayed in India and lived out his days in India. And he's currently, I don't think the Muslims say this, but I'm going to say it. Um, Meher Baba says, if you know who Meher Baba is, he's from India. Um, People say he's the avatar of the age. Meher Baba says that Jesus Christ didn't die on the cross, although he was crucified. He didn't die on the cross. Instead, he went into a state of samadhi, and his consciousness became absorbed in the universal one consciousness. They thought he was dead because people who are deep in a samadhi state like that can seem to be dead. They took him to a cave and buried him. Well, his apostles came, a couple came by later, opened the cave. He's fine. He's alive. I mean, he recovers, right? I mean, maybe he's not fine, but I think he's fine. I think he had a healing. He could heal others. I'm sure he was healed up within almost no time. comes out of the cave and they decide we're gonna we're going to India. And he settled in India. And Meher Baba says that the body of Jesus Christ is buried in a place in Kashmir in the foothills of the Himalayan mountains. And he went there and he visited that place and he paid homage to that site. But he told no one the exact location. But he does mention in his writings the area. I don't remember what it is, but you can find out if you want to. So there is, of course, a big potential that there was a holographic insert at this time. I'm not saying I know one way or another. I'm putting some ideas out there so that you can have some information to say, oh, I understand what the Pleiadians are saying. What could the holographic insert be? You know, any of these could be holographic inserts. But the point is, how do you know? You don't know for sure unless you're connected to it through your intuition. Okay. You could know because no, truth is never lost. It can be covered up, but it can never be lost. So you could know. Meher Baba knew. Okay. I think he knew. Um, so, but then you might have to ask yourself, what does it matter? Does it matter that there was a holographic insert? This Christ had so much light that he brought to the world, and he made such a big impact on human consciousness that I don't believe a holographic insert mattered at all. I don't believe that the dark forces who did a holographic insert to try and change the story, I don't think they got what they wanted. I think the Christ was able to achieve his objectives anyway. That's my opinion. So that's all I'll say about it. Holographic insert or not, I think Christ achieved what he wanted to do and he had the impact that he was intending to have. So let me move on with what the Pleiadians are saying. Um, okay, the Pleiadians say, in reality, the Christed One was sent as a systems buster, a member of the family of light, to bring light through the portal in the Middle East. This created a way for many to enter and seed a reality that would prepare the consciousness of humanity for that cycle that would terminate in approximately the next 20 years, depending upon how events proceed. Mhm. The Christed One came not as one entity, but as a number of entities, influencing people in humanity's dark hour, an hour when human beings were ready to understand their mysteries. One of the things that was not promoted to you in a very truthful way was that the Christed One was very well accepted. The kind of energy that the Christed beings brought to this planet was received very well. There are a number of dramas going on with the Christ entity. There is the original blueprint, the plan of the Christed committee to come in, to spread light or information, and to show humans what the human body is capable of doing. And then there are beings who said, what are we going to do about this? This one is coming into our portal, and we want control over this portal. How are we going to be able to use this energy? It's a free will universe, and we can do what we want. And so they created a holographic insert of the drama of Christ being crucified to create fear and emotion out of someone else's intentions and to move consciousness in a way that was not originally intended at all. This means that in a free will universe, it is possible, particularly in portal areas, for one group of gods to raid another story and insert their own version of it. At the time, perhaps this does not affect many, although over time, the impact of holographic insert is eventually known. We know this is frustrating for many of you, and yet what we are doing by sharing this information with you is getting you to move, feel, and remember, and not think so much. This is not a process of logical thinking. It's a process of feeling. What's going on with your body? Ask yourself, what is my identity? How can this be? Who am I within it? And then you will begin to release more of who you are to yourself. And you will be able to figure out many things. Do you understand why you have come here to bust this system? Do you understand how complex frequency control is? Do you understand how fine and thin reality is? Do you understand how available reality control is to the human species? If humans would harmonize with one another and act as though they were all provided for and believe and create through their minds. Yeah, I agree. I think if we remember our oneness, the beingness that we share with the one being, it would lead to greater harmony on the planet. Less of a sense of there's not enough. This is being driven by ego. There's not enough. What do I have to do to survive? And more of a sense of there's as much as anybody could ever want. This would take a mind shift, though. It takes transcending what we think we are. If we have the wrong idea, I am a body. This is the wrong idea. Humans are much more than bodies. Humans have a connection to the infinite beingness of the universe through oneness awareness. And I think that's what the Pleiadians are leading us to with some of these questions and ideas that they're advancing here. Okay, the Pleiadians say, we said some time ago that light is underestimated on this planet. Truly it is. If it became known how many individuals are gaining sovereignty over their thoughts and lives, and how many of them are broadcasting the sovereignty and living to teach it to others, those in charge would do something about it rather quickly. Light is underestimated, and it is a good thing because light is going to liberate you all. You have an exciting assignment, an enviable job, and you have all the help you are going to need to complete your task. There has been a tremendous influx of entities and motherships on this planet that are now acting as intermediaries or perhaps literal transducers of energy. The beams of light that have come to the planet come from old and ancient star systems that have been working with Earth for eons and eons. Many of them are simply numbered by your astronomers, while others have names you are familiar with. Sirius, Arcturus, Orion, and the Pleiades, and so on. Beams of light are being caught by quite a number of motherships surrounding Earth, filtered through an entirely different system, and then blasted onto the planet. Many of you have implants inside of you to respond to this communication and to bypass psychotronic warfare and interference that would keep your frequencies jammed and prevent you from being able to receive this information. These implants are not negative. You were not abducted and probed to receive them against your will. They are etheric implants that you called to yourself as tools to receive off-planet energies. These implants are being activated now, and many of you are finding that you are feeling altered. At different times of the day, particularly when you are going to sleep, you are hearing a variety of tones or feeling a kind of electric vibration in your body. Ask yourself, am I? Are you aware of that? Are you aware that you hear a variety of tones sometimes, or that you have these electric vibrations in your body? If you do, then you may have one of these etheric implants that is helping to bypass the frequency of control. Etheric means energy. Okay, so the way I understand this is it's a tool. It's a tool based on energy principles that allows you to have more of your own original abilities so that you're connected to this light that's coming from the Pleiades and other star systems. The light may not just be physical light that you see with your eyes, but it's more likely the information that these civilizations are sending our way in the form of electromagnetic radiation, but probably not light that you can see, but light that you can sense and that can activate your DNA, etc., as they've already said. Okay, let me continue to read. When this information is beamed to you, your body must be able to receive it. You see, so the body is a receiver. It's like an antenna, okay? So there's another great usage of the body. Reading again. In order for your body to receive it, it must be in a certain state. The information is like a current, and if your body cannot handle the current, it moves into a state of discomfort. The people of Earth were programmed for this time, and there is no one incarnated upon the planet who can say that they made a mistake and did not know what was going to occur here. No one was born upon this planet without a mechanism inside of them that can be activated to tune into or to turn on to the ability to house these frequencies. So that's good news. Even though there's frequency control and jamming, we still, by using the power of our own will, can overcome that. And that's the good news. Okay, the Pleiadians say, we have encouraged many of you to move out of the logical mind because the logical mind will come into conflict with this information and electronic energy. In the next number of years, your understanding and vibration with the frequencies coming to you will be like turning on your own radio. You will have a direct telepathic link with motherships broadcasting to you. There will come a time when you will never even think of going to a channeling session because you will have your own link up with information. The wealth of information that will come to you will be of great reassurance. It will be broadcast to fill you in on what's happening. As you become more trusting, you will be able to manifest before you a light entity who will come physically and begin to teach you. Channeling, or the process of bringing information through another being, will become completely archaic as each of you manifest your own literal being to teach you. In the meantime, we are here to teach you, to remind you of who you are, and to give you an idea of what you can draw to yourself. What we want more than anything else is to assist you as members of the family of light to succeed in liberating the humans. Focus on the dance of yourself. To what tune will you dance? And to what magic will you perform? And to what heights will you be willing to push consciousness to give it a new definition of possibilities? So this is chapter 9. That ends chapter 9 right there. And I think these last few words on focus on the dance of yourself is wise advice. Focus on the dance of yourself. To what tune are you dancing? To what magic are you performing? And to what heights are you going to push consciousness? So, self awareness is key. They talked a little bit here at the end about channeling beings of light to help us to know. My interpretation of that is being in touch with who you are, being in touch. Some people call it the higher self, being in touch with the higher self. They're saying there's no need for an intermediary. There's no need to channel to get information from other beings. So even from the Pleiadians, we don't absolutely need this. It's an aid, it's a help, of course, but we can find out through our own self everything that we need to know because of oneness. The reality behind the universe is oneness. I feel this, it's oneness. And so if it's true, then really we can know everything that we need to know in this moment. If you feel like you can't, you can always stop and meditate and get quiet and ask the question to the universe that you need the answer to and wait for it to come. Give it some time, it'll come to you. And so I think the Pleiadians are giving us great advice here. And I think they're telling us to turn towards ourselves and to look at ourselves for the answers. So that's my understanding of chapter 9. So we could open it up to questions, comments, anybody who wants to, ask a question or offer additional insights, even. That's great if somebody wants to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to share something about the um, Jesus, the crucifixion and all.
Oh, yes. That's
Yeah,
great.
did you ever heard of Tayuba prophecy?
Tayuba
Tayuba,
prophecy. No, this does not sound familiar. No.
same as like Pleiades, it's a other star system, other planet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there is a book called Tayuba Prophecy. In that, they mentioned like they took one guy, Mike called Michael. They took them in their motherships to that planet, Tayuba planet,
Okay.
and all that information. And they in one chapter completely dedicated to Jesus Christ. Whatever they in
Mhm.
this chapter they mentioned, right? Um, Yeshua ben Joseph went to India and all the places, but he
Mhm.
never came back to uh, the back to Iran or Iraq. What is that
Mhm.
place?
Mhm.
But instead of that, like how in this chapter mentioned, the other being, the cloning of his other body came
Yeah.
to, yeah, came back to the um, that place, and he got crucified. And
Mm.
for him, he in the Tayuba planet, they showed his body also.
Okay.
One complete chapter was
So
meant.
are they saying that Christ was not crucified or that he was?
He was, but it's a hallucination, but it's not
Ah,
actual Ashwa bin Joseph who went to uh,
ah,
l-
ah.
know the truth. to the world, right? He went to India, all the Palestine from Palestine. He started India and China. He read all the scriptures. So,
Yeah.
but he never came back. Instead of him, like just like how they mentioned in this, Pleiadians mentioned in this chapter, the
Mm.
higher master, they can manifest, right? So,
Yeah.
they other body, they manifested other body.
Yeah.
That person went back to uh,
Yeah.
Palestine.
I also feel like when I read the Bible and I read the accounts of how he appeared after the crucifixion, during after the resurrection, how he appeared to his apostles, I also feel like his body was transformed and transfigured because people didn't recognize him right away. He came up to his apostles who were down by some body of water intending to do some fishing, and they did not recognize him. In one of the stories, you have to read it in Acts of the Apostles. I don't remember detail. It's been a while since I've read it, but I just remember they didn't recognize him until he told them who he was. And then suddenly it hit them. Wow, this is our master. Yes. But before he revealed the information, they didn't know it. And so it tells me that his body was very transfigured and very transformed. And I'm sure, there was probably a sense of radiating light and brightness and beauty. And I can just imagine what it must have been like. And I'm sure before the crucifixion happened, he was a very beautiful man also. But his body would have been more human-like, more like yours and mine. But I think after the resurrection, his body was probably more like an astral body, a body of light, is my feeling about this. And of
That's
course,
that's what
I
they
don't
mentioned.
know, but I'm just thinking here, and it's fun to think about. And so I think that kind of matches up with your story here that you're telling.
Yeah, that's what they mentioned in the Tayuba prophecy book.
Okay, I like that story.
They took him to the Michael, to the planet in their mothership. They showed
Mm.
everything and they dropped again back to the earth so that he will write the book, let them know the world.
Ah, okay. It's a good story.
Not story, actually, it's real truth. So he
Oh,
went
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't doubt it. There's lots of versions, and it's hard to say, what's true and what's not. And I think the Pleiadians have a point here in that, there was something devious, something mischievous going on with a holographic projection to mess it up, to mess up the story. Um, and we're still thinking, we humans, we're still thinking 2,000 years later, what really happened, and it feels like the details are hard to get a handle on. Now we have this revelation that you talked about. It, I like it. I mean, I like the feeling I'm getting from it. I'm not going to dispute it. I mean, you say it's real. I'm not going to object. I like the
Get
story.
the PDF with you, you can read it by yourself. So there is one complete chapter. You can read it by
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'd like to read it. Yeah, I'll get the info from you. Can you say the name of the book one more time?
It's Tayuba prophecy.
Tayuba Prophecy. How is Tayuba spelled?
Mm, I'll read it exactly. Thiaooouba.
Okay, Tayuba Prophecy. I'll look it up.
I have the PDF. I'll share it with you.
Okay, sure. That'd be great. Yeah, if you want to send me a copy.
The energy is so high, so I was going into trance.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you so much, James.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Thank you. Anything else anybody wants to share or comment on? Give us a new perspective. The Tayuba Prophecy. That's nice. I want to read about it. Yeah. I think that Christ was such a powerful being that even though these other gods raided his story and wanted to mess it up, I think he still did what he wanted to do. And even though, the church is a patriarchal organization and has its own self-interest at stake, there's a lot of good that's come out of these teachings. And so,
In Theosophy Society books, they say Sananda, right? Master Sananda. He's from
yeah.
planet. Jesus
Uh,
was conscious. Jesus conscious was higher self was Sananda,
okay.
part of the Sananda. To
Yeah,
cleanse
and they
the
mentioned too, of course, that there wasn't just one being, but it was multiple
multiple
beings. Yeah, I suspect that some of the other beings who may have been part of the Christ beingness,
consciousness.
yeah,
There,
the
he
Christ.
create Christ consciousness grid.
Hmm.
Not a person, just create the grid. Even now also,
Yeah,
he wherever he goes, he established through him lot of energy. That's what they say.
yeah, yeah. There have been beings coming and going who have been great beings of light, and I think they're connected to Christ, of
They
course.
are connected with the grid. So that's what they call collectively Christ consciousness.
Yeah, it's all. It's the right seeing. It's the right, there's the right seeing, and then there's the way of seeing. The way of seeing that we see, right? When you look around and you see the world and you think, oh, the world is the cause of everything. And well, the world is actually an effect of what's in mind. The world isn't a cause of anything. The world is a cause of our thoughts. And so once you see things right, that's getting connected with the Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness see things right, but the typical ego state of mind sees everything wrong. Everything is wrong. And that's so hard to explain. Because as soon as you say everything is wrong, people say, okay, what do you mean by that? Where are you going to start with that? So, just an idea to throw out there. I don't want to get into a whole new topic because we're going to be out of time here in a minute. Just an idea of what is Christ consciousness? Yeah, okay. Anybody else like to share their thoughts? All right. Well,
You,
if not,
you unmute yourself, please talk.
No, is it that there was certain things which was put down by the Christ consciousness, which was suppressed by certain, like your Celestian prophecy. When you read, they were not allowing the truth to come out; it was being suppressed. Because they didn't want to reality to be revealed. So each one made there to gain their power. So it was a human power wanting to suppress the reality, trying to mislead people.
oh, yeah. Definitely. This has been happening over time since Christ was on the planet. The teachings of Christ were changed, you know. Christ said no violence. Don't do violence against anybody or anything for any reason. And immediately, the church had to reinterpret that to say, oh, he didn't mean never ever do violence. He meant that, yeah, you shouldn't kill somebody. Of course, you shouldn't kill somebody. But if your government needs you to be in the army to go kill some foreign people, that's okay. And so this is the church reinterpreting what Christ said. Christ never said it was okay to be a soldier in the army and to kill foreign people because according to Christ, we're all brothers and sisters on this planet. And even a person in a foreign country is still my brother and my sister. And we
Yeah.
are connected. And I should never join an army to go and kill them because it would be a big mistake. You see, the word sin really means mistake. It's a mistake, it's an error. And so if I go and kill these people and blame it on the government, I've made an error. I've sinned. That's what sin means. I've made a mistake. So the church is intentionally teaching people to make mistakes because they have a self-interest. They
Yeah.
want to preserve their own organization and their own power and their own control. And they can't get directly involved in a fight against the government because the government has the power to do them harm. And so they choose the easy path. Well, we'll just change the teachings, you see. We'll change the teachings, and then we can keep our control, and then what are they teaching? You see, this is the problem. They're not teaching what the master taught anymore. And so this is the real problem. A real Christian has to look at what did he say? What exactly did he say? And think about that. And then if the church teaches something different than what he said, then that's not a Christian teaching. That's something else. And that's this is the critical thinking that a lot of people who follow religion they don't do. They don't want to do it because then they're taking responsibility for their own self. And it's people don't want to do it. They want to just say, you know what? You decide for me. I don't want to decide. And the Pleiadians talk about that too. You give your power away when you do that, right? And so, yeah, um, fully agree with what you've said.
But things are now slowly changing, I suppose, because people are realizing and people are getting into meditation, trying to know their inner self, which is making them reveal so many of the facts, you know.
Fully agree. Fully agree. Things are changing slowly over time.
Yeah.
I was brought up in the Catholic faith and I was told, follow the church. The church teaches everything you need to know. Don't question it. It's all correct. It's all true. And I got to a point where things weren't making sense to me. And I had to start questioning it and the story was falling apart. And I was trying to think, well, why is this story falling apart? There's got to be something wrong here. And, it turns out that the reason the story doesn't work is because of the way it's been changed over time. Because, like you said, humans have their own selfish interests at stake. And when a person like Jesus Christ comes in to give real teachings, about the truth of what we are and who we are, it shakes the foundation of society and government and ego. And these power centers don't want to give up what they have. And so they start challenging the story. They start saying, well, wait a minute. We need to tune this story. We need to make some changes in the story. And all we have to do is make exceptions. Like when he said, don't kill people. Okay, don't murder your neighbor, but still make sure you join the army and go fight. How is that not killing people? It is. It's still killing people. And he never said you could, I'm giving you an exemption for the army. He never said that. Okay. So this is just one example of how the story was changed in order to support human
That
power centers.
surprised me.
But people are
The
waking up to it. People are waking up to it. I've woken up to it and I've said, no, I don't agree with it. I think what he said was nonviolence under all circumstances, without any exception. That's what he taught. So you're right. Meditation is helping because people get a better sense of who they are. They get a deeper sense of who they are. They get connected with real meaning, and it helps to awaken you. Like the Pleiadians say, the light that is will flow into you. And meditation is one of the great tools to allow that light to flow because the blockages have been removed.
yeah,
So, yeah, more people are meditating. I've noticed it myself. I talk to people once in a while who I don't know, and once in a while I ask them about meditation, and I am absolutely surprised that random people will admit to me that they've taken up meditation practice. Never, ever expected it because in this society in America, it wasn't popular when I was a kid, but it seems to be gaining in popularity. So I think it's a trend. It's a great trend. Yeah.
Lot of movements are taking place trying to introduce meditation right from the school days to make the children to go into the reality rather than be hoodwinked by the teachings of wrong and that is inculcated into their consciousness.
Yeah.
So I suppose the coming generation hopefully will learn to understand the true sense of Jesus saying we are all one. It's just that, we are different human beings, but the soul consciousness is all one. So
Mhm.
there's no superior or inferior.
Mhm.
The present world of greed and power and the money consciousness is making them try to suppress all this because they want to be the powerhouse.
Mhm. Yeah,
Oh,
Jesus said a lot of great mystical things that are not understood well, and many people miss the point.
no, they
Um,
misinterpreted, I would rather say, just to suit to
Completely miss it. Yeah, and it's unfortunate. And part of it is I think some of the writers of the Bible even
their.
didn't understand what he meant. Like he said, I and the Father are one. And he didn't mean I personal. He didn't mean the personal I and the Father are one. What he meant was the
Human.
I is one. That's what he meant. So this I that is in every single entity is one.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's missed by so many people. So many people want to take it literally. Oh, he is one with God, and that means he is God. And then that totally have the wrong meaning. They don't understand it. And it's unfortunate that it's not explained better. These teachings are not explained better. Even in the church, they're not. I've been in church services. I've listened to priests try to explain these metaphysical statements of Jesus, and they generally don't explain it the way that I believe the master intended it to be understood. Even in the church, it's
No, that,
law.
because if they explain that way, then people will not, they can't keep the
Then
control.
people will have the truth and the truth will set you free. Even Jesus
Yeah,
Christ
they
said it.
want
You will know the
to
truth
keep
and
them under.
that will make you free. And this is dangerous for these organizations. They don't want people to be truly free. They need dependency. That's their source of power. And I'm sorry if I offended anybody about their church, but just you got to keep in
All
mind. They're
I'm saying,
patriarchal organizations built on power centers, and they have their own interests at stake.
no, James, it's not only Christianity. I think it's all over the world. Every religion has tried to modify to suit to their controlling the thing. Now, if you really go through the Hindu scriptures, it's exactly what actually Jesus told. But people again manipulated it to keep people under control and never allowed them to know the truth. So
Yeah,
now it's slowly coming, saying, Ham Brahmasmi. That means I am God. Each one is a God because we are all entities of the great Supreme Power.
exactly. Exactly. Each person is one with the prime being of this universe. We
Exactly.
are an expression of that oneness in a very unique way. And you can say very truthfully, I am God. And this is absolute truth. It is 100% absolute truth. You are God. But as soon as you say it, people look at you like, okay, are you crazy? Do I have to take you to the mental hospital? Or even worse, if you say it to some people of some religions, they want to kill you. They'll say, you blaspheme God. Now I have to kill you. And so sometimes it's dangerous to speak this truth. And,
No,
you
rather say,
know,
when you're meditating, your godliness will come out on its own. You don't need to say also, because you can feel the
yeah,
presence. As you said, you can feel the vibrations of the people. That
yeah,
means they are evolving, and they are there.
yeah.
But the world has started from childhood brainwashing them and suppressing them not to express themselves. So I think gradually, when the world changes now with this trying to encourage everyone to meditate, which is now trying is being done very this thing in all over the world, to this
I'll,
patriji is the,
I will
because
spread the word of meditation. I have a
yeah.
job where I teach, and I have a lot of students at the technical college, and I usually try and say at least two or three times during the semester that you should consider meditating
No,
because
and tell them it is observe only your breath. You're not telling to follow anybody. You
yeah,
just
yeah,
your breath. So teaching them to realize in their own potential,
yeah,
which you're not trying to preach some new religion or trying to brainwash them. It is
yeah.
helping to know the true path.
I make
So
some suggestions usually throughout the semester, and it's not too much. It's just a little bit because, I'm supposed to teach the class, but I do make suggestions, and I've gotten some good feedback from students about how they liked me to say this and that they're considering doing it or they're going to try to meditate on their own. And I've never had any negative feedback at all. So I think just being in a position where you can suggest to somebody, try to meditate, it just opens them to the possibility that they may never have even thought that this was something worth doing. But now they have this idea. Now it's a possibility for them. So this is one of the ways that we can help to change the world and put it in a new direction.
but
Yeah.
I just want to suggest to you one thing. One thing I realize whenever we say meditate, first is repulsion. Oh, no, no, I can't meditate because I get too many thoughts. So
Yeah.
now actually one master called Pradeep Vijay, actually from India, he's built up an ashram, pyramid ashram near in Tamil Nadu. He wants to inculcate children, I mean, people between 15 and 30 to 35. You go to Instagram and see, he has changed the word meditation. He is teaching it as a breathing uh, technique, sort
Mm.
of. You just
Mhm.
close your eyes and just observe your breath. If you say
Mhm.
meditation, they are so repulsive. So
Mm.
the words we use and make them feel the difference they would experience. I
Yeah.
think a lot of difference.
You're right. Maybe sometimes the word meditation is a hindrance. And just to
Yeah,
say to people, close your eyes and observe your breath
yeah.
and
Just for
try
10
this
minutes,
for a few
observe
minutes.
thought comes, just put it away and realize you have to observe your breath.
Hmm.
Gradually, your thoughts become less and you learn to go into emptiness of the mind, which
Yeah.
brings. So just tell them, close your eyes, observe your breath, keep on observing and just keep on telling them, don't bother about the thoughts, just put it
Hmm.
away. You know, then they would experiment and say, yeah, it makes me feel calm or it makes me feel better. So,
Yeah.
but that's the word he is using now. He wants to introduce this into a lot of colleges and schools, and gradually get it into a curriculum, so that it becomes a part of learning.
Yeah. That's a great idea to even not use the word meditation
Yeah,
because like you said, some people it brings up for some reason strong resistance in some people.
daughter, mommy, don't keep advising me. I know I have too much mind now. I said, time has to come for her to realize that she needs to do it. So that's a
Yeah.
word. And I think present generation thinks that you're trying to push them into some spirituality. It is
Hmm.
not just to know yourself, who you are, and what is your purpose.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was great. Your reading was excellent. I was attending it for the first time, but I really enjoyed every moment of it.
Oh, great. I'm glad you did. That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Shilamji. It's Breath Energy Health Foundation.
Correct, correct, correct. I was about to get it. Breath Energy Foundation
It's
is now
Energy
intention.
Health Foundation.
Yeah. See, that's a good way of putting Breath Energy Foundation, making them realize breathing has got the energy which, because they say the first breath it brings you life, the last breath takes you off, you know.
Yeah.
So it's a Breath Energy Foundation which he's trying to bring in and introduced.
The Breath
So
Energy Foundation. I'll check out their website. Sounds interesting.
That Energy Health Foundation.
Oh,
B.
Breath Energy Health Foundation. Okay.
he is really very, very knowledgeable and very interesting person to, you know.
Yeah, thank you so much
Oh,
for joining, sharing your insights.
your insights were great too. Thank you so much.
Possible join every week. Thank you.
It's a once a week, right?
Yeah, once a week, every Wednesday, same time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, we've enjoyed your company.
Even
Hope
me
to
too.
see
It
you.
is very
Hope,
enlightening.
hope to see you again next week because we're going to
Yeah,
meet again next
definitely. I
week
would
at the
love to
same time. Yeah, we'll
come.
do chapter 10 next time. So if you want to read
Okay,
chapter 10, we'll discuss that.
yeah. But I'm just a beginner, so I can't say much. You people are so much advanced, but it's just to walk a little more further when we hear everyone.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, you can just join too. If you just want to
Yeah,
join, you don't have to read it. Yeah, you can just listen to what we say. That's fine too.
I know it has been very enlightening. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, James. Thanks for your energy and session. Thank you.
Very welcome. All right. So we'll see everybody again back here in 1 week to talk about